Adams and Thomas Jefferson were men who came from two very different backgrounds. Adams, who was a lawyer and farmer who came from more humble means, who worked his entire life with a dogged determination, and Jefferson, who was an eccentric Virginia plantation owner whose interests lay in many different things from politics to architecture, and he even dabbled in making his own version of the Bible. But these men's lives would intertwine, starting in 1775 and continuing to do so in 1826, when they finally passed away. They truly are two of the most interesting characters of the American Revolution. So the story of Adams and Jefferson is one that has always fascinated me. These were two men who, like I said in the beginning, were so completely different in every aspect, from background and upbringing to the personalities they possessed. I mean, Adams was this uptight New Englander with a pretty rotund build, and he was kind of obnoxious, as many people from the time have pointed out. And Jefferson was a tall, lanky man who was nonchalant to an almost infuriating point. But these two men, starting in 1775, managed to work together to ensure the passage of the Declaration of Independence. And in the process, they would form a pretty deep friendship that would last until the mid-1790s, when bitter political differences, mostly over the French Revolution, would drive these guys apart. The harsh election of 1800 only made it worse, and from 1800 until 1812, these two men who'd once been the best of friends would refuse to talk to each other, with one brief exception. Now, this did not extend to all the Adamses, as John Quincy Adams actually went to the White House several times to have dinner with President Jefferson while he was in office. For years, Adams and Jefferson did not speak to each other. That was until, in the fall of 1809, Adams received a letter from Dr. Benjamin Rush. Dr. Rush was a fellow founding father who had signed the Declaration of Independence, and in the letter he wrote, he described a dream in which his son had him read from the pages of an American history book that said the following: "Among the most extraordinary events of this year was the renewal of the friendship and intercourse between Mr. John Adams and Mr. Jefferson, the two ex-presidents of the United States. The book in the dream would then describe the friendship and the later falling out that they had. A difference of opinion upon the objects and issue of the French Revolution separated them during the years in which that great event interested and divided the American people. The predominance of the party which favored the French cause threw Mr. Adams out of the chair of the United States in the year 1800 and placed Mr. Jefferson there in his stead. In the month of November 1809, Mr. Adams addressed a short letter to his old friend Mr. Jefferson, in which he congratulated him upon his escape to the shades of retirement and domestic happiness, and concluded it with assurances of his regard and good wishes for his welfare. This letter did great honor to Mr. Adams. It discovered a magnanimity known only to great minds. Mr. Jefferson replied to this letter and reciprocated expressions of regard and esteem. This letter would prove to be prophetic, as in 1809, Adams would write a letter to Jefferson in which he congratulated Jefferson on being able to retire and leave office. Jefferson warmly responded to the letter, but after that, they just stopped. It would not be for another 2 years that they would begin to again correspond regularly. The year 1811 was a difficult year for Adams. Several people close to him died, and his daughter Nabby would undergo a mastectomy. This horrified Adams, who feared for the health of his daughter, and he became a different man, it seems. David McCullough would describe him in the following manner: "The horror of Nabby's ordeal brought a marked change in Adams. The old shows of temper were not to be seen again. He became more mellow, more accepting of life, and forgiving. He had felt during Nabby's agony, he said, as if he were living in the book of Job." It was all of this and a little more prodding from Dr. Rush who reminded Adams of the fact that Jefferson was happy to know that he still cared for him, and that moved him to begin writing his old friend.
My dear friend, one trouble never comes alone, and at our ages we may expect more and more of them every day in groups, and every day less fortitude to bear them. In the years since our parting, I have lost my daughter. Now, my dear wife of 54 years has been taken away from me. as she goes to a country where there will be no war, nor envy, no jealousy, no rivalry or party. I am, sir, your afflicted friend, John Adams.
And that moved him to begin writing his old friend. And for the next 14 years, that's exactly what these two men would do. They wrote each other regularly and on many different topics. By 1826, both men knew that they were close to death. Adams had reached the age of 90, which is a remarkable feat today, and even more so back then. Jefferson himself was 83, and the two men continued to grow weaker and weaker as the year went on. And by June, it was clear that they had little time left to live. Both men had declined invitations for 4th of July celebrations, but they held on, determined to see one last 4th of July. By July 2nd, Jefferson had slipped into unconsciousness, sleeping until the 4th, and he awoke for a little bit that day, and he asked, "Is it the 4th?" After hearing in the affirmative that it was, he went back to sleep, waking one last time before he died at 1 in the afternoon on July 4th. Adams, at the same time, was also growing weak. On June 30th, he received a visit from several men who wanted to hear Adams make a toast that could be read for the upcoming 4th of July celebration, to which he replied, "Independence forever." By the 4th, Adams was bedridden, but happy that he had made it to the 4th. McCullough described the scene in his book. As efforts were made to give Adams more comfort by changing his positions, he awakened. Told it was the 4th, he answered clearly, "It is a great day. It is a good day." As Adams continued to fade, his thoughts must have shifted to his friend Thomas Jefferson, as Adams said, "Thomas Jefferson survives."
Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson survives.
Unaware that his friend had passed away earlier that day, his last words, which were delivered to his granddaughter, were, "Help me, child, help me." Shortly after, Adams would die, unless the two men most responsible for the Declaration of Independence had passed on the same day: Jefferson, its creator, and Adams, the warrior who had ensured its passage. Hey everyone, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out another video.